The Grand Council chamber of the Zar'konian Empire buzzed with anticipation. 12 towering figures, their crystalline bodies refracting the purple light from twin suns, leaned forward in their hovering thrones. At the center of the chamber stood Commander Vrax'thor, his obsidian scales gleaming as he projected the latest entertainment ratings. Esteemed council members, Vrax'thor's voice rumbled through the chamber, a hint of amusement dancing in his 4 golden eyes. Our arena ratings have dropped 17% in the last cycle. The masses grow, bored. He paused dramatically, knowing he had their complete attention. But I have discovered something extraordinary. High Counselor Nyxis shifted her massive form, her crystalline structure chiming softly. Speak quickly, Commander. Your last 3 discoveries ended up being rather disappointing. The other council members chittered in agreement, remembering the blob beast of Sector 7 that turned out to be nothing more than a very large, very angry space fungus. Oh, but this Vrax'thor's mandibles clicked excitedly as he activated a holographic display. This is different. Behold a human. The chamber erupted in laughter. A human second counselor Crixtal wheezed, his crystalline form vibrating with mirth. Those soft, squishy things from that backwater planet? The ones that think faster than light travel is still theoretical. Yes, Vrax'thor hissed triumphantly. But watch this footage from our observation posts. The hologram shifted, showing a human female in what they assumed was some sort of combat training facility. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible for such a primitive species, taking down opponents twice her size with something the database identified as Krav Maga. Fascinating, Nyxis murmured, her laughter fading. They're more capable than our reports suggested. Indeed, Vrax'thor's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his species. And here's the brilliant part: they're classified as a protected species. No official contact allowed. But if one happened to find its way into our arena system, he let the implication hang in the air, like a perfectly baited trap. The council members exchanged glances, their crystalline bodies reflecting countless shades of purple and gold. They all knew what he was suggesting, technically illegal, but so deliciously profitable if handled correctly. Very well, Commander Nyxis finally declared, her voice ringing through the chamber. You have authorization to proceed with specimen acquisition. But she raised one crystalline appendage. This stays completely off the official records, and if it fails... It won't fail, Vrax'thor interrupted, perhaps a bit too eagerly. I've already selected our target. The human female from the footage, she's perfect. Strong enough to make it interesting, but ultimately, well, let's be honest, what chance does a primitive human have in our arena? The council chamber filled with chittering laughter again. Vrax'thor activated another hologram, showing the arena a massive structure that could hold millions of spectators, its force fields gleaming under the twin suns. I've already begun upgrading the containment systems. After all, we wouldn't want our new entertainment to escape before the show begins. As the council members continued their amused discussion of how long the human might last, none of them noticed the slight flaw in Vrax'thor's logic. After all, how dangerous could one small human female possibly be? It wasn't like their mighty empire could be brought to its knees by a single specimen of such an underdeveloped species. Maya Winters had just finished her night shift at the downtown mixed martial arts gym. The crisp autumn air nipped at her face as she walked through the empty parking lot, her duffel bag slung over one shoulder. At 26, she already owned the most successful combat training center in Seattle, teaching everything from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to Muay Thai. Another successful class, she muttered to herself, grinning as she remembered the shocked faces of her new students when she demonstrated the advanced takedown techniques. Her long, dark hair was still damp from the shower, and her muscles pleasantly ached from the intense training session. The first sign that something was wrong came when the streetlights suddenly went dark. All of them. At once. Oh, come on, Maya groaned, reaching for her phone. If this is another power outage, I swear. But her phone was dead too. And that's when she noticed the silence. No traffic noise, no distant sirens. Nothing but an eerie, absolute quiet that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. A brilliant purple light burst from above, bathing the parking lot in an otherworldly glow. Maya's combat instincts kicked in immediately. She dropped her bag and took a defensive stance, her eyes scanning for escape routes. Well, a voice rumbled from everywhere and nowhere at once. At least this one has some fighting spirit. Before Maya could process the bizarre situation, she felt herself being lifted off the ground. The purple light intensified, and suddenly she was floating, suspended in some kind of energy field. What the actual Maya's curse was cut short as she found herself materializing in a stark white room. The walls seemed to pulse with an inner light, and the air smelled like ozone and something else, something alien. 3 figures stood before her, and Maya's brain struggled to process what she was seeing. 2 of them appeared to be made entirely of living crystal, their bodies refracting light in impossible ways. The third, clearly in charge, was a towering obsidian-scaled creature with 4 golden eyes and clicking mandibles. Specimen secured, Commander Vrax'thor, one of the crystalline beings, announced, its voice sounding like wind chimes in a storm. Maya's mind raced. This wasn't some elaborate prank. This was first contact with alien life, and somehow she doubted they were here for peaceful cultural exchange. Run full biometric analysis, Vrax'thor ordered, studying Maya like she was an interesting but ultimately insignificant insect. Check for any hidden weapons or augmentations. A beam of blue light swept over Maya's body. She remained perfectly still, analyzing her captors just as they were analyzing her. The gym might not have prepared her for alien abduction, but it had taught her one vital lesson: always study your opponent. Analysis complete. The second crystalline being announced. Subject is in peak physical condition for her species. No augmentations detected. Combat training evident in muscle development and scarring patterns. Vrax'thor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Perfect. She'll make an excellent addition to tomorrow's exhibition match. The crowds do love seeing new species in their first arena battle. He leaned closer to Maya, his golden eyes glinting. Though I doubt you'll last more than a few minutes, human. Still, try to make it entertaining, won't you? Maya met his gaze steadily, her voice deadly calm. You know what's entertaining? The fact that you think those restraints will hold me. The aliens laughed, the sound like breaking glass mixed with thunder. They didn't notice Maya's fingers quietly testing the energy field's fluctuation pattern, or the way her eyes carefully mapped every exit point in the room. Their first mistake was assuming she was prey. Their second mistake would be giving her time to plan. After all, any good predator knows patience is everything. The holding cells beneath the grand arena of Zar'kon Prime hummed with energy fields and the sounds of various alien species preparing for combat. Maya stood at the edge of her cell's transparent barrier, taking in the spectacular view of the arena above through the massive ceiling viewport. The structure was mind-boggling in its scale. Multiple floating platforms orbited a central battle zone, each one the size of a football field. Force fields shimmered between them, creating bridges that could materialize or disappear at the controller's whims. The twin suns cast everything in a purple-golden glow, and the stadium seats, stretching up into the clouds, could easily hold millions of spectators. Impressed by our little setup, the guard, a hulking reptilian creature named Kex, tapped the force field with his energy prod. Most new contestants spend their preparation time crying or begging, but you just watch. Maya smiled, not taking her eyes off the arena. Beautiful place you've got here. Those force field bridges, they're plasma-based, right? The way they ripple when debris hits them. Kex's scaled face registered surprise. How could you possibly know that? The same way I know your energy prod is running at half charge, Maya replied casually. I pay attention. The guard instinctively checked his prod's power indicator, then growled when he realized she was right. Commander Vrax'thor wants you in the preparation area. Time to meet your fellow contestants. The preparation area was a vast chamber filled with various alien species, each one more bizarre than the last. A 3-armed warrior with metallic skin practiced with energy blades. A creature that seemed to be made entirely of living smoke manipulated small tornadoes between its tendrils. In one corner, a massive beast that looked like a cross between a bear and a mantis sharpened its natural armor plates. These will be your opponents over the coming days, announced Vrax'thor, materializing beside Maya. Assuming you survive your first match, of course his golden eyes gleamed with amusement. We're placing you in the novice bracket, giving you a sporting chance. Maya noticed how the other contestants gave Vrax'thor a wide berth. Fear? No, something else. Contempt, carefully hidden. Interesting. Each contestant gets basic training with standard arena weapons. Vrax'thor continued, gesturing to an impressive array of exotic armaments. Choose wisely. Your first match is in 6 hours. Maya approached the weapon rack, aware of every eye in the room watching her. She picked up what appeared to be a simple staff. This will do. The gathered aliens burst out laughing. Even Vrax'thor's mandibles clicked in amusement. That's a basic training tool. It doesn't even have an energy core. Perfect, Maya said, testing the staff's balance. Every movement was deliberate, measured. She was performing now, but not for the reasons they thought. Over the next few hours, Maya went through the mandatory training protocols. She fumbled just enough with the staff to reinforce their assumptions. Meanwhile, her eyes recorded everything the way the more experienced fighters moved, the limitations of their various physiologies, the patterns in the arena's force field fluctuations visible through the viewport. A small crystalline alien approached her during the break period. "I'm Lux," it chimed softly. "You should know no one survives their first match in the elite brackets." Maya took a sip of the provided nutrient solution. "Good thing I'm in the novice bracket then." "That's just it." Lux's crystalline form trembled slightly. "They changed your designation an hour ago. Commander Vrax'thor wants you in the elite matches. He's betting heavily against you." Maya set down her drink, her face showing no reaction. "Tell me, Lux, how long have you been watching these matches?" 3 cycles, what you'd call years. "And in all that time, has anyone ever escaped?" The crystalline alien's form dimmed. "No, it's impossible. The security systems." "Good," Maya said, picking up her staff again. "Then no one will be expecting it." As she resumed her training, deliberately keeping her movements clumsy and predictable, Maya's mind was already several steps ahead. The perfect opportunity. The arena's energy barriers hummed to life as Maya stepped onto the central platform. The twin suns had set, replaced by massive floating light arrays that bathed everything in harsh white brilliance. Above her, millions of alien spectators filled the stadium seats, their collective murmur like an approaching storm. Ladies, gentle beings, and energy consciousnesses of all classifications, the announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "Welcome to tonight's Elite Division match. Our first contestant, fresh from the primitive world of Earth, Maya Winters." A mixture of laughter and dismissive hoots echoed through the stadium. Maya stood quietly, holding her simple staff, looking remarkably small in the massive arena. And her opponent, the undefeated champion of the Proxima Sector, Gridlock. The opposite platform erupted in flames as a massive figure emerged. Gridlock stood nearly 12 feet tall, its body a combination of organic muscle and advanced cybernetics. Multiple arms, each ending in deadly energy blades, extended from its torso. Its face was a nightmare of metallic mandibles and glowing red sensors. In his private viewing box, Commander Vrax'thor clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. "This should be quick. I almost feel bad taking so many bets against her." The force field bridges materialized, connecting the platforms. Gridlock charged forward, its energy blades humming with deadly purpose. Maya didn't move. "At least try to run," Gridlock's mechanically enhanced voice boomed. "Give them a show." Maya's response was barely audible. "Why would I run? You're exactly where I want you." Just as Gridlock reached her position, Maya dropped and rolled. Not away from the attack, but toward it, inside the creature's guard. Her supposedly primitive staff struck a precise point where organic meat met cybernetic enhancement. Sparks flew. One of Gridlock's arms spasmed. The audience's laughter died. "Impossible," Gridlock roared, spinning to face her. "How did you?" "Fun fact about cybernetic interfaces," Maya called out, now moving in a fluid combat stance that looked nothing like her training sessions. "They all have the same weak point where the nerve signals transfer. Someone really should fix that design flaw." Gridlock unleashed a furious barrage of strikes, its remaining arms becoming a blur of lethal energy. But Maya moved like water, each dodge seemingly effortless, each counter-strike finding another vulnerability. The staff, far from being primitive, turned out to be perfectly weighted for her fighting style. "The human is making Gridlock look slow," someone in the crowd shouted. "How is this possible?" In his viewing box, Vrax'thor leaned forward, his golden eyes narrowing. "Computer, Analyze her movement patterns. Combat style incorporates elements of multiple Earth martial arts, the computer responded. Subject appears to have been masking her true capabilities during preparation period. Maya's staff struck again, disabling another cybernetic interface. Gridlock stumbled, off balance for the first time in its fighting career. The crowd was completely silent now, watching in disbelief as their champion was systematically dismantled by what they had dismissed as primitive prey. You know what the biggest mistake in any fight is? Maya asked, circling her increasingly desperate opponent. Underestimating your enemy, she smiled. Well, that and leaving your primary power core exposed. Before Gridlock could process her words, Maya's staff struck a precise point in its back. There was a sound like thunder, and all of Gridlock's cybernetic enhancements went dark at once. The massive creature crashed to the platform, its organic parts still functioning but unable to coordinate with its mechanical components. The arena was dead silent for 3 full seconds. Then it exploded into chaos. Victory to Maya Winters, the announcer's voice cracked with disbelief. The human has defeated Gridlock. The crowd's reaction was a mixture of shocked outrage and wild celebration. Those who had placed small, crazy bets on the human newcomer suddenly found themselves very wealthy. Those who had bet against her, including many of the arena's regular power players, were considerably less pleased. In his viewing box, Commander Vrax'thor stood perfectly still, his golden eyes fixed on Maya as she calmly walked off the platform, still carrying her simple staff. Interesting, he murmured. Computer, access Earth's combat sports records, find everything about Maya Winters, and increase security on her holding cell. Something tells me we've barely seen what she's capable of. Down in the preparation area, other contestants backed away as Maya returned. She noticed Lux staring at her in amazement. That's impossible, the crystalline being chimed. You just took down a champion like he was a training drone. Maya leaned close and whispered, here's the funny thing about humans. We're really good at looking harmless, right up until we're not. The next 3 weeks transformed the grand arena of Zar'kon Prime. Every match featuring Maya Winters became a sold-out event, with black market betting rings making and losing fortunes on her fights. Her holding cell, once a place of isolation, now attracted a steady stream of visitors, some seeking advice, others offering alliances. The plasma whirlwind of Centauri 6 approaches, the announcer's voice rang out across the arena. A being made of pure energy spun toward Maya, creating deadly tornadoes of superheated plasma. Maya rolled under the attack, her modified staff now incorporating elements of alien tech she had borrowed from previous opponents. Nice light show, she called out. But you're telegraphing your moves. The crowd roared as she dispersed the plasma creature's form with a precisely timed energy pulse. Another victory. Back in the holding area, Lux waited with a data tablet. That's your 7th win. The betting odds have shifted again. Look at these numbers. Maya toweled off the sweat from her latest match. Never mind the numbers. Tell me about the guard rotation changes. Her growing group of allies now included not just Lux, but also Krang, a massive 4-armed warrior who had tried to crush her in the arena last week. After she spared his life and helped fix his damaged exoskeleton, he became one of her most loyal supporters. The commander has doubled security, Krang rumbled, his deep voice kept low. Your success makes him nervous and angry. He's lost significant credits betting against you. Maya nodded, watching the guards patrol. Each victory had taught her more about the arena's systems, its weaknesses, but she needed more allies, more information. Her next match pitted her against the twins of Rigel, synchronized fighters who had never lost a tag team battle. The crowd expected a slaughter. They got a masterclass instead. Notice how she adapts their own techniques, commented a wealthy Zar'konian watching from the luxury boxes. She's not just fighting them, she's learning from them. Maya moved like a fusion of every opponent she had faced, incorporating their strengths while exploiting their shared weaknesses. The twins' perfect synchronization became their downfall when she trapped them in their own crossfire pattern. After the match, the twins approached her cell. Teach us, they said in unison. We want to learn human combat methods. Maya's reputation grew with each victory. Contestants started studying her matches, copying her techniques. Even the guards began treating her with a cautious respect. But it was her actions between matches that truly built her influence. She helped a wounded crystalline fighter repair their shattered form, using knowledge gained from Lux. She taught younger contestants defensive techniques that kept them alive in their matches. Every saved life, every shared secret, every small kindness built her a network of loyal allies. Your next opponent is Shadow Maw, Lux announced one evening. They say it can predict every move before you make it. Maya was practicing with her staff, which now hummed with modified energy circuits. Nothing can predict everything. There's always a pattern to break. The match against Shadow Maw became legendary. The shadowy creature seemed to dance around every attack, its precognitive abilities making it untouchable. For the first time, Maya appeared to be outmatched. Then she started laughing. "What's so funny?" Human Shadow Maw's voice echoed across the arena. "You're not predicting my moves," Maya said, suddenly changing her stance to something entirely new. "You're reading my surface thoughts. But here's the thing about humans: we can think about one thing and do another." What followed was a demonstration of pure combat psychology. Maya thought about attacks she never launched attacks she never thought about, and moved in patterns that defied prediction. Shadow Maw's perfect record ended that day, and Maya's legend grew even larger. Commander Vrax'thor watched it all with growing unease. His private viewing box had become a shrine to Maya's matches, screens analyzing her every move, trying to find a weakness. "She's building an army," he muttered to his advisors. "Not with weapons, but with loyalty. Every fighter she spares, every life she touches, they're all becoming her allies." "Shall we eliminate her?" one advisor suggested. "No," Vrax'thor snapped. "The crowds would riot. She's become too popular. We need her to fall in the arena, publicly and decisively." Down in the holding area, Maya sat in her cell, apparently meditating. But her mind was racing, processing everything she had learned. The arena's power systems, the guard patterns, the force field frequencies, the loyalty of her fellow fighters. All pieces of a puzzle coming together. "Your next match is scheduled," Lux chimed softly. "They're calling it the Battle of the Century." Maya opened her eyes, a slight smile playing on her lips. "Perfect. Tell everyone to be ready. The real show is about to begin." The grand arena pulsed with unprecedented energy on the day of the championship match. Every seat was filled, with millions more watching via quantum broadcasts across the Empire. The betting pools had reached astronomical levels, and security forces lined every entrance. Commander Vrax'thor had pulled out all the stops. His championship contender was something unprecedented, a bioengineered nightmare called the Apex. Created by combining the deadliest aspects of a dozen species, enhanced with cutting-edge cybernetics, and programmed with combat data from every recorded arena match. Maya Lux's crystalline form shimmered with concern as they visited her holding cell. The Apex, it's not just another opponent. They designed it specifically to counter every technique you've shown. Maya adjusted the power settings on her modified staff, now a sophisticated weapon that could match any energy signature. "Good thing I haven't shown everything then." Krang approached the cell, his massive form casting shadows. "The others are in position. When you give the signal." No, Maya's voice was firm. "Not until after the match. Win or lose, that's when they'll be most vulnerable." The preparation chamber buzzed with tension as Maya warmed up. Dozens of former opponents, now allies, watched silently. The twins of Rigel, Shadow Maw, even Gridlock all nodded respectfully as she passed. "Citizens of the Empire," the announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "Today's championship match will be one for the history books. In one corner, the unstoppable human phenomenon, Maya Winters." The crowd erupted as Maya stepped onto her platform. Gone was the hesitant newcomer they'd first seen. She moved with absolute confidence, her modified staff humming with power. And her opponent. The ultimate evolution of arena combat, the Apex. The opposite platform literally melted as the Apex emerged. It stood 15 feet tall, its body a shifting mass of muscle, metal, and morphic tissue. Multiple limbs ended in weapons, both biological and technological. Its face was a nightmare of sensors and crystalline structures, designed to process combat data faster than thought. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Commander Vrax'thor's voice cut through the arena. The perfect predator, created to remind everyone what humans really are: prey. The force field bridges activated. The Apex moved with impossible speed, its form already adapting, analyzing, countering Maya's known fighting patterns. But Maya didn't move like herself anymore. Her first sequence combined Gridlock's power with Shadowmaw's unpredictability. The Apex's predictive algorithm stumbled, trying to adapt. She shifted again, flowing between styles faster than its combat computer could process. Impossible. Vrax'thor leaned forward in his booth. How is she moving like that? The answer became clear as the battle progressed. Maya wasn't just fighting the Apex, she was showcasing everything she'd learned from every opponent. More than that, she was combining techniques in ways their creators had never imagined. The Apex launched a barrage of energy attacks. Maya's staff spun in complex patterns, not just deflecting the blasts but redirecting them in a technique she'd learned from the plasma whirlwind. The redirected energy struck precise points on the Apex's armor, targeting weaknesses she'd discovered fighting similar systems. But the Apex was learning, adapting. Its morphic tissue flowed like liquid metal, generating new weapons and defenses. The battle platform shook with the intensity of their exchanges. "She can't keep this pace forever," Vrax'thor shouted. "No human has this kind of endurance." Maya's voice carried clearly through the arena. "Wrong again, Commander. Humans don't just adapt, we evolve." She launched into her endgame sequence. Every movement was a calculated risk, drawing the Apex into increasingly complex attack patterns. Her staff became a blur of energy and motion, striking points that seemed random but followed a deeper strategy. The Apex's adaptive algorithms began to overload, trying to counter too many different fighting styles simultaneously. Its morphic tissue struggled to maintain coherence as Maya systematically overloaded its power distribution network. "Now that's interesting," Maya called out, dodging another attack. "Your perfect predator has the same weakness as your arena's main power grid." Vrax'thor's golden eyes widened in sudden understanding. "Stop the match. Cut power to the..." Too late. Maya struck the Apex with a precise combination of energy frequencies. The creature's form destabilized, its morphic tissue unable to maintain integrity. As it struggled to recover, she delivered the final blow, a strike that transmitted a cascade failure through its entire system. The Apex, the ultimate arena champion, collapsed into a puddle of inert biometal. The arena fell silent. Then pandemonium erupted. But Maya wasn't finished. She turned toward Vrax'thor's booth, her voice carrying over the chaos. "Thanks for the match, Commander. Oh, and thanks for letting me study your arena's power systems up close. That's going to be really useful right about now." She slammed her staff into the platform, transmitting a specific energy pulse through the arena's grid. The same pulse she'd used to defeat the Apex. Throughout the massive structure, power systems began to fail. Force fields flickered. Security barriers dropped. And in every holding cell, former opponents turned allies sprang into action. The revolution had begun. Vrax'thor stared in horror as his perfect arena descended into chaos. "What have you done?" Maya's voice echoed through the facility's speakers. "I told you, Commander. The biggest mistake is underestimating your enemy. Humans aren't prey, we're the ultimate predators. And you just gave us the perfect hunting ground." Chaos erupted throughout the grand arena as power systems failed in cascading waves. The revolutionary movement Maya had carefully orchestrated sprang into action. Krang and his warriors secured the weapons storage. The twins of Rigel took control of the communication systems. Shadowmaw's people infiltrated the security centers, disabling the backup protocols. Commander Vrax'thor's voice thundered through the failing speaker system. "Security forces contain the prisoners. Activate lethal protocols." "They can't hear you anymore," Commander Maya's voice replied, cool and collected. "Your security forces are a bit busy dealing with some very angry former champions. Turns out, treating people like animals for entertainment doesn't earn much loyalty." Lux's crystalline form shimmered as they coordinated the resistance movements through the arena's lower levels. Main power core is secured. Backup generators are offline. The massive arena screens flickered to life one last time, showing Maya standing in the central platform. "Citizens of the Empire, your entertainment for today has been slightly modified. Instead of another deathmatch, you're going to witness something unprecedented: freedom." High above, the Crystalline Council members watched in horror as their perfect system crumbled. Millions of spectators sat frozen, unsure whether this was part of the show or something more revolutionary. "Find her!" Vrax'thor roared, storming through the corridors with his personal guard. This ends now. He burst onto a viewing platform, only to find Maya waiting for him. She stood alone, still holding her modified staff, looking remarkably calm for someone who had just incited an arena-wide rebellion. "You primitive, arrogant Vrax'thor," raised his energy weapon. "Now that's just hurtful," Maya interrupted, spinning her staff casually. "Primitive? I just dismantled your supreme champion and your entire arena security system." "Arrogant," says the person who thought they could keep a human as a pet gladiator. Vrax'thor fired. Maya moved like liquid light, the blast passing harmlessly by. Her counter-strike was precise, devastating. The commander's weapon clattered away, his golden eyes widening in shock. How he gasped. How did one human destroy everything we built? Maya's smile was predatory. "You gave me 3 things, Commander. Time to study your systems, access to train with the galaxy's greatest fighters, and most importantly, a really good reason to tear it all down." The revolution swept through the arena like wildfire. Former prisoners became liberators. The crowd, sensing the historic significance, began cheering for the rebels. The council, seeing the tide turn, quickly announced emergency reforms. Maya stood on the main announcement platform, addressing the millions watching across the empire. Beside her stood representatives from every species that had been forced to fight in the arena. "The age of blood sport entertainment is over," she declared. "The grand arena will be transformed into a center for cultural exchange and peaceful competition. All former prisoners are hereby granted full citizenship and reparations." She turned to face Commander Vrax'thor, now in custody. "Next time you catch a human, remember this: we're not just good at surviving. We're really good at changing the rules of the game." As the twin suns set on Zar'kon Prime, a new era dawned. The story of the human who turned from prey to predator to liberator would be told for generations. And in the grand scheme of the galaxy, everyone learned an important lesson: never underestimate a species that turns oppression into opportunity. 6 months after the revolution, the grand arena of Zar'kon Prime had transformed beyond recognition. Where once blood stained the platforms, now athletes from across the galaxy competed in regulated sports. The holding cells had become diplomatic quarters, and the betting halls transformed into cultural exchange centers. Maya stood in her new office, overlooking the training grounds where former gladiators taught combat as art rather than survival. Lux materialized beside her, their crystalline form gleaming with pride. "The Council has approved your final proposal," they chimed. "The Intergalactic Sports Federation is now officially recognized across all sectors." Maya nodded, watching a group of young aliens practicing human martial arts alongside their own traditional combat forms. And the rehabilitation program, fully funded. Even Commander Vrax'thor is contributing, though not entirely by choice. Lux's form shimmered with amusement. His seized assets are doing more good now than they ever did funding blood sports. A holo message flickered to life on Maya's desk. The sender? Earth's first official diplomatic mission to Zar'kon Prime. "They're coming to evaluate us for potential alliance," Maya mused, scanning the message. Funny how things work out. The Empire kidnapped one human, thinking they'd found easy prey, and ended up with an entire species ready to join the galactic community. Krang entered the office, ducking his massive form through the doorway. "Speaking of humans, there's something you should know. Our deep space sensors detected another abduction ship. They're hunting for new arena prey in the Orion sector." Maya's smile turned predatory. "Really? Did you track their destination?" "A different empire. The Kraxishi domain. They run something called the Death Pits of Nargoth." Perfect. Maya picked up her staff, now adorned with symbols of her arena victories. "Lux, contact our network. Krang, prep a stealth ship. Looks like another empire needs to learn the same lesson." She turned to the window, watching the twin suns set. "You know what the best part is? When they catch me and throw me in their arena. They'll have no idea you let them do it on purpose." Lux finished. The revolution that started in the grand arena was about to go galactic. After all, as Maya had learned, sometimes the best way to change a system was from the inside.